on to that, that once we move beyond the realm of intellectuals into the kinds of practices that you're looking at, I think that's precisely when Atlantic narrative purview becomes most porous, not in an ever reaching out empire kind of way, but in the example of your Acadian who winds up committing suicide in the Pacific Ocean. That once we open up beyond intellectuals, we have to be open to what it means when these other non-Atlantic spaces come into the story that we're looking at.
Can I get Ken in? Ken, do you want to ask?
Let me just remind, and I don't know if anyone dealt with this, remind people you can also look kind of the opposite direction that Mary pointed us to. There is a history without people, and there's the work of environmental historians has in fact suggested that we should take on the natural world and the human world as one matter. And I think there's examples one could turn to, probably many of you are familiar with, in which the geography and geology of the Atlantic, to take it at a kind of extreme level, have significance for what you're talking about. Disease environments, plant environments, I mean, all of that too is part of what you can use if you want to define an Atlantic. And there's a reason where William there goes, to ideas and conjunctures at the end. I mean, he sees these things as having the kind of coherence that makes the region significant. It's not to discount what we are doing here, but if you want to really expand the concept of the Atlantic, you should embrace actually the non-people part.
But there are people who do that. I think it's part of why it's different than Brunel is it's the division of labor. We're not doing total history where we're dealing with the three levels necessarily the same.
But it's a very good point, because if you look at the weather patterns, the trade winds, and hurricanes, these are tremendously important things for human and probably even the exchange of ideas.
But they're also understood or mediated through these human actors. And I mean, I guess one of the things that's interesting to me is going back, I guess I was really intrigued by Anna's argument, and I really like that. I don't know how common it is, but it just, I have to, as a further kind of underscoring of your sense that this was a particular kind of captivity narrative in which there was a great deal of manipulation going on in order to keep the Spanish away. I notice how much the coast figures as an actor in the story. And it's interesting that it's the coast and not the internal, the tierra, right? Like sometimes, he's writing about the tierra firme, and sometimes he's writing, but mostly he's writing about the coast. And it seems to me that he's constructing the coast as a barrier to the Spanish. You're interested in the coast, but don't look at any deeper in. There's nothing deeper in there for you. And so the other kind of point of that is that we can also integrate the environment as much as a cultural construct, if that's where our interests are.
Sure.
I just want to
get Dominique, and this will be the last.
On Bianca's point, and I work on Mediterranean, and the Croatians claim that they discovered America. They discovered America because one of their boats got swept ashore on the North American coastline. But this is not Atlantic history. It's not about somebody might have ended up there. And I was really struck that the majority of your works were kind of playing around the maritime world and using the triangle that Sunil talked about as the moments of contact or interaction, what brings it all together, but not really, is there something special about maritime narratives and about an Atlantic narrative? I was really confused by the narrative part of this discussion, and I guess because it was all very relevant, but it sounded like we could have been talking about African history or European history or anything to have that narrative discussion. So my question to you is there a specific crux of the Atlantic narrative that is different than the narrative discussion for historians and literary scholars?
I would say I've worked a lot on maritime narratives, but I don't find them particularly Atlantic at all. I mean, I think that's actually where you run into problems, because if you start looking at the Portuguese who were doing this first, the Atlantic was not the focus of their maritime movement, and you find these actors moving between the Pacific and the Indian Ocean.
Yeah, the first chapter of the history of the two Indies is on the Portuguese in Goa. We haven't talked about Goa, but that's part of the Lusophone world, really, and it's quite important at the times.
Major focus in the
Right.
16th
Yeah,
century.
yeah, exactly.
Maybe I'll pose it as a question, which is, I wonder if the Atlantic maybe best functions, and perhaps this ties up some of the ends about empire or other things, but functions in such a way as an epistemological construct that we've inherited that makes me flip past the pages that talk about the Philippines and not include them as part of the Spanish Empire. So that's, you know, that legacy we continue to create, in which the Americas represents the other, or Africa represents the other, and we continually recreate the European-centered narrative in which the Atlantic is the expanse that we are willing to go to find the other.